Hello. Hello. I want to start that over because I feel like hello. Welcome back to our Take the Money and Run episodes. We are finally back with another episode.
We're back.
Sorry for the delay.
We had to pull over and get gas. Sorry, the road trip got a little extended.
Yeah, we just found a place we wanted to chill out for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
So no rush to get anywhere here, right?
No,
I
man.
am hoping that like maybe by the end of the year I'll finish this podfic. We'll see.
We're getting there. Baby steps, man. Baby steps.
But chapter 6.
Chapter 6.
We are here. I did not do a lot of like research like I did for that last episode, but I feel like it was mostly just vibes. Like there wasn't a ton going on in this chapter, but I loved it.
I liked that it took place for the majority at that motel. It was a one location chapter, which I actually really dug because it gave a chance for the boys to like slow down a little bit. So that was really cool.
They got to like settle down, get to know each other a little bit, relax. It was a supernatural crossover.
It was. Which have you watched that show? Do you know that show?
I have not, but like I all the time like feel like I should, but I know it's going to be such a big commitment. But if I
had to recommend it, so I discovered it actually when I was in college in Pennsylvania, and it was so funny because all of my guy roommates got really into it, and we basically plowed through the first 5 seasons, and the creator meant for it to only be 5 seasons. And I might be alone in the majority, but I feel only watched the first 5 seasons and then stopped because it lasted like 11, 12 seasons. And the last season, I mean, the last episode aired during 2020. I watched it just out of curiosity, but the plot just got really like ridiculous and complicated. But the first 5 seasons, it's like watching this big sweeping epic. And at first it's like Monster of the Week. And then, you know, angels get involved and demons. And it's just so cool. Like the 4 horsemen, you get to see all these different gods and deities and stuff. And of course, the 2 leads are very handsome. I was lucky enough to meet them in 2011. I wore long feather earrings, and my exact words were, "Pull hard, boys." But no, really, really liked that show. Love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays their dad, who went on to be Negan in The Walking Dead.
Yeah. And I did watch The Walking Dead, but I stopped like kind of like.
Did you stop before Negan?
No, like right after though, like maybe the season after Negan came.
I will be the first to admit I watched it and I first really loved it, and then kind of like fell out of it because I was like, oh, these people are kind of unlikable. And then when they did the Negan thing, me and my tattoo artist were like, yeah, Negan. I met Jeffrey Dean Morgan at Comic-Con. I got a Negan tattoo, and so didn't my fucking tattoo artist, Shane Murphy. Love you, boy. And then the show went to shit, in my opinion. And I was like, I love that I have a big fucking Negan tattoo. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan, baby.
There was like the junkyard people. That was the last season that I watched. And then the helicopter started coming.
Yeah.
And like I think Rick was gonna go like somewhere in a helicopter, and that's when I stopped.
It's just like, and this is my opinion, I might be alone, but like all the spinoffs now, like nobody cares. Like it overstayed its welcome. Woof. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think, is one of the most handsome actors out there. And I love that he's married to Hillary Burton from One Tree Hill.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Oh my God. If you ever follow them, like she definitely like, I think she's a Wiccan. So she's got all these witchy vibes and stuff. And they own this huge farm, but he is in the show Supernatural. He's not in it a lot, but he, you know, comes back here and there, but very rugged, very handsome. And supposedly like, cause I'm thinking it's 1986, this would be when the two boys, Dean and Sam were still just little kids. And basically they'd ride around in their dad's 67 Impala and he'd go monster hunting. He would kill monsters. That's
Yeah.
basically the premise of the show. So I did like that they did this little thing where, they stop at the motel and they decide to get high. And I like that Eddie's like, yeah, I usually don't get high on my own supply, because right away, you see Steve being like, when have you had a chance to smoke? They get really high. And I love the magic fingers. That was
It was
amazing.
hilarious. That was hilarious, and just the whole conversation where they're getting high in the woods or whatever, and they're just like, I don't know, I just felt like they were really bonding, like
For the first time, they seem to let their guards down, especially
yeah,
Steve.
and I liked the song, the so we didn't talk about the song for the episode. Usually we
Yes.
start by talking about the title and
Who's
the
that by?
song. So it was Werewolves of London, which I feel like it's just like an iconic
Yeah.
song that like I knew, even though I don't really know. It's Warren Zevon or
Do you know what
Zevon.
year that came out?
I can look it up.
Thank you.
1978.
So that really blows my mind because we all know An American Werewolf in London. So I really like that there's this song that was made beforehand. I don't know if it has any connection, but you know, just it's so catchy and just so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's just like it's a vibe. Like it's like
Yeah.
monsters, but like I feel like the lyric at the end what that I put in there is like that he had really great hair, and it just made me like
Come
think of
on.
Steve. I was
That
like,
is
no, this is perfect.
That is perfect. And it goes along with it too. I love that right away Steve knows that the metal lunchbox was where Eddie always carried his drugs. And he goes, I carried my lunch too. So imagine.
No, Steve thought that that was his lunch, and
Oh,
Eddie's like, "You sweet baby.
you're
That wasn't my lunch, that was
you're
my
right.
drugs."
Yeah, he always said my drugs, but I would sometimes carry my lunch too, which I love all the memes of being like, I wonder if he kept like a string cheese or his cocaine. So I always love that. And I do
Yeah.
love that they talk a little bit and Steve is curious. He's like, oh, do you sell this? And when he mentions Coke right away, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not rich. And he's like, oh, I did a few 8 balls with Tommy. And he's like, should we do Coke? And right away, Steve's like, with your manic energy, absolutely not. Which
Yeah.
good call, Steve. But I
Yeah.
love that they get like giggly and they're using the magic fingers. I do like that right away. He's like, we should get this for our place.
Yeah, so that was my favorite part,
My heart.
and it was like Eddie was like, "But we could have a home," and he said that they would get a cat,
Oh my
and
God.
and Steve's like, "Oh, I guess we're getting a house and a
Yes, we're gonna
cat and the magic fingers."
and it just shows like maybe Eddie, being high, let his guard down. And I just love that they're just being dudes. And Steve goes out because they get the munchies to like
Yeah.
get stuff to mix drinks, which I'm like, oh my God, whiskey on top of weed, like night boys. And I love that he walks out to get like pop, because that's what he was calling it. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, John Winchester, walks out, and isn't it he's covered in blood?
Yeah, like blood and gore, and Steve just doesn't even think twice, and I feel like Steve's reaction is, like, so accurate because, like, he is used to that stuff,
Yep.
but, like, the other guy, which I guess his name is John, you're telling me?
Yep.
So John, like, realizes that Steve, like, recognizes that and
Mhm.
isn't like, he can read in his reaction that he's not shocked or horrified,
Yep.
and so he's like, "Are you a hunter?" And I like Steve's reply, like, "Not on purpose."
Purpose. I love it, like,
Yeah.
too, "Did you kill it?" Like,
Yeah. He's like, "Is
chills,
it dead?" Right.
chills.
Yeah.
And it's just such a brief interaction because Eddie comes over the radio that Steve's carrying me, like, "I want this M&Ms and this and that." And
cherry mash. I had to look up what it
what is
was.
that?
It's some sort of like chocolate cherry candy thing.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, sounds disgusting.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. But it's
But
just
apparently Eddie was loving it.
yeah, and I like that earlier when they're checking in, they clock the Impala, which is a 1967, and I learned that that was more of a family car, actually, especially the same one in the show is a four-door. Big tank of a car, very intimidating looking, and I like that, little Dean and Sam are like, "Don't touch it. Don't touch the car." And he's like, "Don't worry, little dude, just looking at it." So they get that kind of moment, and you kind of see that Eddie's kind of good with kids, but I do like that kind of sobers up Steve after seeing John, and he hurries back to the room, and that kind of like it kind of almost like spooks him a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, and I do like his kind of internal, like, monologue where he's realizing that, like, yeah, Dustin and Mike and them, they were kids, but they weren't, like, babies like these kids. Like, they were at least in middle school. Like, these kids are, like, can't even reach the door
Yep.
tiny, like, and the fact that they're mixed up in this so much earlier than, like, his kids that he
Hmm.
thinks of them as his kids were. Yeah, I feel like we're, like, all over the place talking about this, but also one of my other favorite parts was they're listening to the what is it? The final scene? Bob Seger,
Yes.
the famous final scene,
Hmm.
and, of course, I had to play it in the podfic.
It was so good. Oh my God.
I kinda wanted to play it the whole time they were talking,
Yeah.
but actually the whole time that they're talking was longer than the
Then the actual
song.
song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so I just, like, played a little bit of it and then a little bit of it at the end of their conversation, but when, like, Steve is getting sad and that song makes me sad too,
Mm.
and, like, Eddie's like, "Are you, like, a sad stoner?" And Steve's like, "No, this is just a sad song."
I know. Oh my God. Ah.
But, yeah, that moment and when Steve is like, "We're not doing coke," and Eddie's like, "Okay, we won't do
We
coke."
won't do coke because he's like, "You with that kinda energy?" Like
Yeah,
and I just like that it kinda shows too that, like, he was a completely different person, like, 3 years ago. He was doing 8 balls of coke with Tommy and Loch Nora and partying and this and that,
yeah,
and now here he is on a road trip getting the magic fingers with that sounds really dirty, getting the magic fingers with Mr. Munson, so
yeah,
it's really like it was a fun little, you know, episode, I guess I'd call it. But
yeah,
it's just so nice that even though this is such a slow burn, you see like even their friendship is improving. And I feel
yeah.
like this was almost the true segue from things just getting better and better with them, even though there was kind of that spooky part of him running into John Winchester from Supernatural.
Right, I just love that This Apple Pie Life included that. We do
Yes,
get another kind of
we do.
crossover
Yep.
down the line, so get excited for that if you have not read the story already, but I I totally agree. I think it was just a chance for them to kind of, like, chill, like, get to
Hmm.
know each other, relax, and, they did get to cross something off the list.
I loved that literally, like, Steve had to stand out there and watch Eddie cross it off the list. That was iconic, and I love him being like, "Should we get a hooker?"
Yeah, because he's like, what is it? Ass, gas, or grass? Yeah, ass, gas, or grass, and they've crossed out grass and gas, and
So,
he's like, "I don't think we're gonna cross out ass and, like, unless I buy Steve a hooker."
I cannot. And just like we already know what happens, but just makes me giggle because I'm just like, this is the beginning of just such a sweeping story. It's
Yeah,
already so good. And I just love how realistic it is, like that they spend a whole chapter at this motel. It's just
yeah.
such a good road trip story. I I don't know, and just listening to it in podfic form, it's an entirely different experience, but in the best way possible, you know?
Yeah. I also love, like, Steve's, like, protective instincts that he, like, doesn't even tell Eddie about running
Yes.
into this guy, like, he doesn't want Eddie to have to, like, deal with that,
And I
so
think he notices too, because like we said, he already clocked why doesn't he ever get comfortable? Why does he always wear, his clothes and stuff? And I think he's starting to see Eddie relax a little bit, so he doesn't want his anxiety or his fear on high alert, you know?
yeah, yeah, and just the little things with, like, This Apple Pie Life, the author of the story, in their notes, they said that this atlas that they're using because
Mhm.
they took those photographs of, like, a real old atlas. They weren't
Yeah.
just, like, found on the internet or whatever. It was already London, Kentucky, I think, is that where they
Yeah.
are?
Yes.
Was already circled on the atlas,
No shit,
and
really?
yeah, they tried to erase it in the notes. It says that, um hold on, I'll read it to you. Fun fact, London, Kentucky was already circled in my vintage atlas. I took pictures of it first, then tried to gently erase it, but it took a lot of the old ink away.
Oh,
So it got written into the story, but how weird that of all the towns in North America, one that I'd written in had been highlighted by a previous owner.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then she said, "And yes, those are the Winchesters." I liked the Easter egg that maybe these cross-country road trips crossed paths.
Yeah.
Oh, and Steve's not wrong. Four-door '67 Impalas were definitely used as taxis back in the day.
Look at that. See? Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I got to actually see like one of the screen used Impalas at the Supernatural convention in Chicago. It was really, really cool. It's kind of like right around the time season 6 or 7 was hitting.
Mhm.
Um, just definitely fun, but it's fun that I experienced a Supernatural convention, and now we're going to be experiencing a Stranger Things convention. So I
Yeah,
am
it's so
just
exciting.
pumped. We were just talking about it, and I just cannot wait. Dayton just got added, so like this is gonna be a lot of fun. But I just think it's gonna just be so surreal meeting Joe Keery because like he not only in our minds he's Steve Harrington from the show, but he's also Steve Harrington from all these wonderful stories, especially the Money and Run.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, because his face, like, is what we see in our head
Yep.
when we read this story and picture Steve Harrington, so it's very cool to, like, be able to see him in real life and get a photo with him and
Hmm.
just kind of, like, support him and all of the amazing work that he's done that we're huge fans of him for, like,
Absolutely.
from Stranger Things to kind of like all the other movies, Spree, Marmalade that we love,
Hmm.
and his music that we love, like,
Oh my god.
so it's just yeah, it's gonna be really, really, really cool to be able to meet him, and I hope they get their salad in the next chapter.
I'm not even kidding you. I actually thought of this. So I had a staff meeting, as you know, that ran late yesterday. And they gave us in traditional, school system. This is them being like, have your reward. There was shitty pizza, but then there was also salad. And usually I go towards pizza because pizza is my favorite food. But right away, I thought of Steve being like, I wish I could have one of those wedge salads, in the wooden bowls. So I went for the salad because I was like, it's so nice to eat something green because, much like Steve, I've been kind of eating like shit. And it's just nice once in a while to eat something fresh. And I love that right away, and he's like, oh, I never got lunch. I always brought my own lunch. So, yeah,
Yeah,
we know your
and
pretzels and your cocaine.
no, exactly, and, I mean, I have been there in Steve's shoes before on a road trip, though, like, when you're just eating all of this junk food and greasy fried food and you just like want to eat a vegetable.
Yep, wanna eat something fresh, yep, mhm.
Yeah, so I totally got it, but I was trying to like, the brown bowls that he was talking about, like, I do think that I maybe used to have those at my high
As
school,
soon as
like,
he said it, I pictured it instantly in
I
my
can
head.
see it in my
Yep,
head, and, like, I can't necessarily remember, like, eating out of one, but I know exactly what he's talking about,
yep,
like, with the brown bowl, so yeah, it was such a fun chapter, and I just think it's hilarious because, like, every single chapter, I'm like, "This is my favorite
mhm,
chapter." I don't think I can really pick a favorite, though, they're all so good, and each chapter like okay, so this is reminding me of the rewatch that we're doing of the
mhm,
show, because on our regular episodes, if you don't usually listen to them, we are right now rewatching Stranger Things from the very
yes,
beginning and only talking about one episode
mhm,
per podcast episode. And it's so cool to like just slow down and focus in
yes,
on that one episode. And that's similar to what we're doing with this fic, because I'm sure when I read it, I just breezed
yep,
through the chapters and I didn't take the moment to like appreciate that chapter for what it was. Because the fic was finished when I read it. It's not like I
yeah.
was reading it as like a whip.
Yeah, like, and it was so good because I read it after I met you actually in, Philly, and I remember it was just so goddamn good. I just couldn't wait to get to the next part, couldn't wait to get to the next chapter. So much like the rewatch, like you said, we're slowing down, we're noticing things maybe we hadn't noticed before. We're really taking it in and maybe even picking apart and analyzing. But I would love, once we're done actually this fic, as the same with our rewatch episodes, to actually do the hard question. What's your favorite episode? What's your favorite chapter and why?
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be hard.
Yeah. Definitely. I guess once we finish, like, all of the chapters before the epilogue, because the epilogue, we're gonna have to do multiple,
Oh, yeah.
you know, multiple I'm
That's a
gonna have
long
to
one.
figure out how to split that up because, I mean, the epilogue is basically a second book.
Yeah.
Like, it's as long as the actual fic, so,
Mhm.
yeah, that's gonna be so much fun, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pick a favorite, but I really liked this one, and did you like the sound effects of, like, the lighter and the inhale and exhale?
You should have seen me. I'm, like, sitting in my car driving, and I'm like, "How did she do this?" Like, magic. You're a wizard, Megan.
Oh, it's so much fun, though, yeah. It's just a fun way to be creative, I guess, like, in a
What's
different
these
way.
few little things, like, there are so many great podcast fics out there, but the ones that kind of, much like you, go a little extra mile with the little sound effects and the music cues, it really makes you feel like you're actually there in the chapter,
Yeah,
It's just so
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. And hopefully, our listeners, whoever might be listening to this,
Mhm.
is enjoying it as well. We are enjoying making this for you. So I think that's probably it for tonight.
Think that's it, but, definitely we'll probably be talking again soon, seeing what the boys are up to further down the road.
Yeah, I promise it's not going to be that long of a wait because I have plans to do a few chapters this month. So hopefully, talk to you soon.
Very cool, guys.
Over and out.
Over and out.